has the potential to excel in life, but I will leave him to tell you all more later.
Hi, yes, I'm Stanley, and yeah, I'm a student. But allow me to introduce my co-host as well. She's Jaslyn. She has been a member of the party for a long time, and also, maybe you can't tell, but she's 18. Yes. Yeah, so,
Okay, thank you very much for joining us, spending your precious Saturday afternoon with us. Today we are actually doing something different, as you can see. If you're wondering why is this set up, come Stanley, let's take a catwalk. This is how a catwalk should be. Yeah, this is something different, so we feel closer to the audience, and the audience can also feel closer to us. In fact, actually, I just attended a Andy Lau concert. Rarely you can see an artist that can manage four side stage. So today we are also taking that challenge.
I think there's two of us.
Okay, just to briefly tell you what is a manifesto. Today, actually, SDP, we are very proud to unveil our manifesto, which is the way forward. A manifesto is a declaration of a political party visions and policies for the country. So after the event, I hope you all can buy a few copies and then get to know more about what SDP has to present to the people.
Beyond what she mentioned about the manifesto, in this book that we're selling, there's also many photos from our recent photo shoot. So I was at the photo shoot and it was a very amazing experience because the whole SDP family came together and we were really like a family, We all took time off. It was not mandatory, it was not obligatory, but all of us took time off to come down for the photo shoot. It was a very exciting experience. And if you buy our manifesto today, you can actually see some of the photos from our photo shoot, different teams, of different members and volunteers.
Yeah, and the manifesto is also just in time for you all to give as Christmas present to your friends and family as well. Let's also let you all know the flow of the event today. There will be 3 speakers that we will introduce to you all shortly, and then after that we will have a Q&A. Okay, so without, let's not take up the time, and let's me introduce to you our first speaker. He is Dr. Paul Tambaya. Dr. Paul is our chairman for SDP. He's a professor of medicine. Okay, he is also the candidate for Holland Bukit Timah GRC in 2015. He's in politics today because of his deep concern for the well-being of Singaporeans. In particular, he believes that having access to good health care is the right of every citizen and not merely a commodity for the rich. Ladies and gentlemen, join me to welcome Dr. Paul Tambaya.
So thank you very much for coming to this event. As you know, this coming election has the potential to be a watershed general election, just like the 2011 general election, with the PAP finally set up and took notice of the concerns of the people. Now, I know all of you will say, what about 2015? Well, many of us were disappointed by the so-called free election results of 2015. But as you know, there are many circumstances around that which cannot happen again. Most of us would agree, though, that the strong performance of the SDP in the Bukit Batok by-election of 2016 actually showed that 2015 was truly a one-off event. So this manifesto actually represents the culmination of a lot of hard work of a number of individuals, people from within the party, people from the volunteers, and we also had the communications team who put it all together. This was led by John, who is somewhere around here, and it's, I think, the most attractively presented manifesto of any political party in the recent history. This manifesto is entitled The Way Forward, and the way forward is what we think is important for the people. As you know, the world is changing rapidly, And we believe that the current government is rather slow in ideas as to how to deal with the vulnerable and changing world. And so what we have here is ideas for the future of Singapore, the next generation of Singaporeans. You've heard a lot about young people all over the world who are worried about climate change. And this is a very real worry, especially in an island nation like us. But right now, on a day-to-day basis, young people are worried about their jobs, they're worried about housing, they're worried about healthcare for their parents, they're worried about education for their children. And all of these issues are addressed in our manifesto. Many of these are issues for Singaporeans because of cost. As you know, Singapore is one of the world's most expensive cities, and it's not just for expats. But for people in Singapore, the cost of living is extraordinarily high. And a lot of that is unnecessary, because these are extractive costs which are put in by a government which seems to be determined to extract what they can from the population. You know, we must be one of the few countries in the world which has a GST on a water conservation tax. So you got a tax on a tax on top of that. So you know that Singapore, the SDP stands for Democratic Singapore, built on justice and equality. Now these are Singaporean ideals. Somebody asked me, you know, where is the freedom of speech, freedom of expression in the manifesto? I tell you, it's there on every single page, every single photo, because that's in the DNA of the SDP, and people know that. See, they know that we are the party that stands for the rights of individuals. That's part of our values. Rights before riches, people before profits, and wisdom before wealth. We are also a very competent, I'm going to do the catwalk. Okay. We are also a very competent party, and I think again, some of you know we ran a response to the Prime Minister's National Day message, and that came out the same night that the PM's National Day rally came out. And I can tell you the team that put that together was really super. This is our communications team and the media people who put it all together. So what we are talking about here is our promise. What do we promise to the people of Singapore? You know, every day in school we pledge one united people, regardless of race, language, or religion. And we believe that in the SDP. We resist the efforts to try and divide us into the Pioneer generation, Merdeka generation, Majulah generation, who knows what other generation they are. Or worse, to try and divide us by race and religion. The idea that we have racial quotas for an elected president but not for the Navy or Air Force doesn't seem to make sense, and it seems to be extraordinarily cynical. It's a step backwards for Singapore as a whole. So in this manifesto, you'll find a series of policies, housing, healthcare, cost of living, education, other things that are important to Singaporeans. Now, if you think that $39 is a lot to pay for a manifesto, well, I'll let you have a secret. You can actually download all of this free of charge on the internet. So why pay $39? The reason why you're paying $39 is because you are making a contribution to the efforts of the SDP in the next general election. This money goes into putting up the posters, to buying time, to getting the perambulators, to getting the stage, to getting the lighting, getting all these really nice things that allow us to get our message across to the people of Singapore. As we have seen in the last few weeks and months, the PAP has actually taken draconian steps. They have changed the laws, and they have now made it possible for ministers to make wild allegations which get dutifully carried in the mainstream media. Sometimes they get a small little comment from the person who's accused in the 7th or 8th paragraph. And so it's really important that enough members of the alternative parties, in particular the SDP, get into Parliament so we can deny the PAP a two-thirds majority. And why is that so important? When you deny the PAP two-thirds majority, they cannot suka-suka change the Constitution, because they need to have a two-thirds majority to change the Constitution at will. So we've had a very successful campaign launch at the beginning of the year, and many of you were there. We had it at the Mandarin Hotel after being kicked out of the other venue. And today we launched our manifesto via a fund, which is the fundraiser. In between, we've had walkabouts, we've had house visits. The ground-up team are there knocking on doors, visiting the residents, hearing from them, engaging them in conversation and dialogue. And what we are doing over this period of time is to try and show the people of Singapore what we can do if they give us a chance to be their voice in Parliament, to speak up for them, to channel their concerns, their thoughts, their fears, their anxieties into Parliament, where decisions are made that affect each and every one of our lives. And so that theme runs through the book from cover to cover. We don't believe in giving handouts just when elections are near, but rather putting in place a fair system which allows each individual Singaporean, that's every one of you and me, to have a chance to live life to our fullest potential. These values have stood us well for the last 39 years, and I think that they are going to do that for the future. So give us a chance to be your voice in Parliament. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Paul. For our next speaker, it will be.
Thank you, Dr. Paul. To actually emphasize again the importance of fundraising during the election. This is something perhaps maybe the PAP don't have that problem, but most of the opposition we do. Because election is a very expensive event. You know, everything from the posters to the stage, everything there is a cost. So SDP, we have to, at every election, we have to raise funds. So I hope you all can actually buy our merchandise generously. We have a merchandise booth right at the corner there. Besides the Manifesto magazine that you all can purchase at $39 a copy, there are also very limited edition of our hardcover manifesto, very limited edition. Please approach our fundraising team there, and they can tell you the price. And also, besides the hardcover copy, we have also Danny Bears and other merchandise that you all can actually purchase. You don't have to wait for the rallies to buy stuff. And you know, the good thing about buying the manifesto today, most of the people in the features in our magazines, they are present. So you can have their autograph. Only today you can get so many of them here. Okay? So I'll leave Stanley to introduce to you our next speaker.
Yes, so our next speaker is Naresh. He's a very good friend of mine. He's also a member of the Young Democrats. So he's a partner at a media production company. And if you have looked at our talk shows such as Slack and Discuss Problems, a lot of this are made possible because of him. So today he'll be here to talk about why he joined SDP and also tell you more about himself and Young Democrats. So without further ado, let's welcome Naresh.
Hello everyone. Thank you for taking the time on this slightly hazy Saturday afternoon to make it down here to witness this actually very important event for us, the Manifesto Launch. It's a privilege to be standing before all of you. When I was first told that I would be one of the 3 speakers speaking, I had a little fear in me, but that went away as quickly as it came. And this is because far more dire and greater than this fear was the importance of being able to represent the people and to fight for better quality of life. I'm Naresh, 31 years old this year, and I'm sure you've heard like I'm in the media and all these things. I was born into a family of humble background, but one which did not fail to expose me to the political climate here. I had an uncommon interest in the local political scene since a very young age. I remember spending childhood days during the campaigns chasing after party trucks during the campaign periods, getting jolted out of my sleep suddenly when I hear the speakers blaring. After all the chasing, I think I finally reached the trucks and the speakers that I was looking for. The SDP had always been at the back of my head, even when I was not actively thinking about politics. Through school, higher education, and when I got into the workforce. Not being a member of the party yet at that point, of course I would not know what the party's culture was like. What drew me to the SDP was what I knew about the leaders of the party. These were things that my parents, my family, my friends, we spoke about over dinner and lunch and all this. What I knew about the leaders was that they were unrelenting towards their push to enter parliament. Not many people would spend a great part of their lives fighting for something that caused threat to their basic comforts, deal a blow to their social life, and sometimes violently rob their financial stability. Members of the CEC present in the past did that and are still doing it. For people who fought this hard, there must have been a strong driving force behind it. They must have realized a dire need to rectify issues in this country. They must have had a deep conviction about something. They must have had a set of plans that are well thought of and beneficial to all of us that they would like to share and ensure comes into play. No one fights unwaveringly for decades just for the sake of fighting. It's really easier to make money elsewhere and live a comfortable life. What appeals to me now, fast forward, as a member of the party, this will take me a long time because there are a lot of things to say, but I'll just talk about some of the key reasons. Be passion and hard work. Does this passion and hard work that I desire to so badly relate to all of you? This passion and hard work that is present in all the members of the party. From people like Bobby and Ricky, people who comb the ground day after day. And I mean day after day because even I find it hard to do it day after day, but they know every corner of the areas that we are in. They know everyone in every block, almost. Balancing the groundwork with the admin, policy planning, family life, work life is nowhere near easy, but it's still done with joy. The humility and love within the party members and volunteers is something that gives hope for the future. If people with these values, this love, get into parliament, it can only translate into sound policies. It can bring about improved welfare and a quality of life, and on a broader level, a civic conscious society. Don't get me wrong, none of these points, though it may be the softer points about the person, none of it points to weakness in decision making. In fact, it points to an increased ability to make morally upright decisions. The SDP is a party that has a very pleasant blend of competency, compassion, and a progressive way of thinking. The brains, the heart, and the openness. The brand of politics that SDP is bringing to the table is one of transparency, a culture of listening, empathy for the people, and the conceptualizing and execution of effective and lasting solutions that we have already planned. We envision a day where society moves away from gender, ethnic, and religious differences. A day where we see each other for who we are. No doubt Singapore is already coping reasonably well with this, but more can still be done. SDP is also going to be a party of and for the future. When I say this, what I mean is that we are also focusing on stuff like environmental challenges and modern societal issues that are coming up. Recently, at the SG Climate Rally, senior members of the CEC, as well as Young Democrats, were there to witness a very important event that is calling out for people to be aware of the weight of this issue of climate change. A systemic change is needed from top down, and we recognize this urgency. Right now, bridging into my last point, which would be about the Young Democrats. I'd like to take a bit of time to speak about them, this group of people. This is the youth arm of the SDP. The youth wings of political parties are a key instrument in any campaign. On many occasions, in a lot of organizations, we see a disconnect between the younger group and the senior members. However, in the SDP, the Young Democrats are included and allowed to take lead in many of the processes in party endeavors. A seamless and productive relationship has been forged between the YDs, which is the Young Democrats, and senior members. A very healthy environment has been established where there is active exchange of ideas. For example, in the coming pre-election rally that has been planned, members of the Young Democrats are in the forefront handling roles of leadership spanning a few departments. The current Young Democrats of the SDP are capable, vibrant, and committed bunch. Shadowing the senior members to learn from their valuable experience has proved to be an excellent learning process. Being allowed to put it into practice through our weekly house visits, party events, planning and strategy work in the office has been monumental in fostering growth and cohesion between all our members. In every party organization, there will come a time when leadership renewal will take place. When that happens much further down the road, I think we can be rest assured that this new generation of focused, competent and morally upright individuals will continue to hold up the SDP banner high. For now, don't worry, our leaders are still extremely strong both mentally and physically, and that explains why the SDP is ready for this upcoming GE. Thank you.
Thank you, Naresh, for your very passionate speech about why you joined the SDP and also about Young Democrats. Now, I'd like to take this opportunity to encourage all of you, if you haven't already, to sign up, to volunteer with the SDP. Now, this is not just for the SDP, this is also for Singapore. We must join the fight to lead the way forward. Now, before I get too passionate, let me allow Justin to introduce our next speaker.
Our next speaker is Mr. Ben Pui. Mr. Benjamin Pui runs a regional business strategy consultancy firm. He stood as a candidate in the Bishan Toa Payoh GRC in General Election 2011 and General Election 2015 before joining the SDP early this year. A former government scholar and senior official in several ministries, Ben has a wealth of experience in international relations, organization development, and public affairs. Please join us to welcome Mr. Benjamin Pui.
Good afternoon, everyone. I have the privilege of being, I think it's on. Is it on? No, it's not on. Sorry, mic test. Okay, okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I have the privilege of being SDP TED Talk speaker number 3. Right? So I hope you enjoy this new layout that we've done, a little bit more interactive. And my role here is to take you through a little bit more about what our manifesto means. And most of you would think that a manifesto is about saying what the party is, what we believe in, and the policy that we stand for, and what we champion. That is completely it. This is exactly what this manifesto is. But there's something more. So those of you who have bought this and flipped it open, you will realize that this party manifesto also gives you a glimpse into inside our party. The fact that we have got what we call pods. POD, we're very environmental, very green, so we must have pods in SDP, right? So these are our organizing departments, and we've got pods in handling logistics, house visits, we've got teams handling communication, we've got teams handling different parts of the internal workings of the SDP. And this hopefully shows you that it's not just about how we run a town council, it's not just about how we run Singapore if we were to win, but it's also about how we run a party internally. So do look at this because it gives you an insight into who we are internally, the kind of organizational departments that we have, the kind of people that we have that run this all on a voluntary basis and bring skill sets to the table about what we are and who we do and make that into reality. The other thing you'll see in our manifesto is we've got a few very key policy articulations. And I think, as Paul mentioned earlier on, a political party is not just about a personality. You're not just voting somebody who, because he looks good, he smiles, he's handsome, right? I don't mean me. But you're looking for a party that can articulate a vision of policy, public policy that you can argue in Parliament. You have facts and figures, you know what you're saying. And more importantly, as a party, we do not believe in short-term quick fixes. So we're not here to say, oh, let's go give some handouts and make people happy. Or let's call this an XYZ generation and then make sure that they get what they need. We're here to think, what is Singapore going to be in 3 to 5 years' time, in 5 to 8 years' time, when our kids are going to get married, or our kids are going to go to work, or when we start to retire, or we need healthcare. We're not looking at a public policy that says what we are in 100 years' time when the sea level rises. Because the pain point is a lot more immediate and it's a lot more now. So we're hoping that you look at these public policies articulations that we have in our manifesto, look at it, interact with it, talk to us, send us your comments over, feedback. We want this to be a dialogue. Ultimately, we are a democratic party. We believe that a lot of you out there working in the real world, you have comments about how this would look like in reality better than we would. And so we want to be able to open the consultation process. This is not a statement in stone that says this is our public policy, accepted. This is us coming out saying, this is our manifesto, this is what we believe in, this is what we want to consult, this is what we want to talk to you about, because we want to say, what does this mean for you as a Heartlander, for you as a 30-something-year-old young family, for you waiting to go into university, for you trying to make ends meet because you've got 3 kids and a husband in prison and you're trying to put your life back together again. We are here to want to say, we as a government, we need to be real. We're not here with fancy visionary statements and some coupons, quick fix, band-aid. No, we want to say, we are here for substantive change. We are here for a way forward. And we want to make it something that everybody can feel, okay, I know what this policy looks like at my level. I know what this means for me. So as you look through these policy frameworks, you see that we've got stuff that maybe, hopefully, maybe no other parties has articulated as clearly. We've got an economic policy. An economic policy that includes our position of our take on Temasek, on GIC, on our investments, on our reserves. We've got an education policy that not only looks at kids in kindergarten and preschool in the private sector, but also looks at leadership development at universities, at education grants, at streaming. We've got our healthcare policy, which Paul has explained very clearly, around universal health, around healthcare, around your MediSave. We've got also a policy statement on the Malay community. So what do we feel about our friends from the Malay community that are very much our brothers? And we, especially the men here who've gone through NS, we have been raised to be colorblind, and we should remain colorblind. But then what happens when the policy is not colorblind? So what do we do when we want to craft policies that take into account a specific community, maybe Malay, maybe Indian, maybe Eurasian, that has specific concerns that are not being addressed today, and we want to be able to address that. So this gives you a very, very good depth. If you are not the type that, oh, policy, I don't understand that, too chim, too deep, I don't quite understand that, or internal how you work doesn't matter, as long as it's red and there's a rocket sign, I'll vote for you, it doesn't matter what's inside, then you buy this and you enjoy the photos. Because there are some beautiful, excellent, wonderful photos in our book, well laid out, beautifully colored. You'll notice that the theme of red runs right through, and you'll see that our leader today is also in red. We all decided not to wear red so that it won't clash with him. But these photos are photos taken by our people. Our photographers, our volunteers, right? Not taken by some publishing house that we went to assign, not taken from the media, so media, don't worry, we didn't take your photos. Right? But photos that hopefully show you how we see our people, how we see ourselves, the angles that we take, the smiles, right? The close-up shots, we've got a group of photos, I can't put this in time, but a group of photos of our women Democrats. And we've got a group of photos of our youth, young Democrats. And we've even got a group of photos for our senior Democrats. Because seniors, you're not here to just sit back and wait for handouts. You're here to step up, share your experience, be the mentors that we need, right, for the younger generation to come up and be involved. So we hope that every one of you will be involved with us. And so lastly, I hope that this manifesto will also be your document. It's not something that you buy and say, oh, I buy this to support SDP, right? I'm here at the back supporting. No, you buy this means that, hey, I want to be a part of this party. You buy this meaning that this is my badge. You buy this meaning that I'm going to look at this, I'm going to read this, I'm going to enjoy the photos, and I'm going to be representing SDP. I would love if you can put this, don't buy, put in your library, don't buy, put in your bedroom corner. Put this on your coffee table in your house. So when your friends come, your relatives come, you make sure they see it. And then you be our spokesman. You be what we call our internal champions, right? You be, right, what we call seeding, right? Seeding for rain, right? Seeding out into the community, because we want everybody to know that we've got people in the community that believe us and what we do and want to be a part of us. So that's my spiel for today. I certainly do hope that you will buy this. It is for fundraising, definitely so, but it's a vision larger than fundraising that we hope you believe in. And I'm going to just hand this time over to our next speaker, which I should not preempt, so I'll let our MCs introduce him instead. So thank you very much. $39.
Okay, thank you very much, Ben. So yes, as Ben had mentioned, our manifesto contains so many things, but a few speeches will not be enough to summarize it all. You will actually have to buy it yourself and see it for yourself. So for our next segment, we actually have the Q&A, where you can ask our speakers anything.
But before we actually go to the Q&A segment, while we still have time, I would like to take this opportunity to actually emphasize to you, for SDP to come up with this event, just like this event, it involved a lot of volunteers from it involved a lot of work from our volunteers. I hope you can join me to actually thank our volunteers for putting up this event. We have, our media team, that is led by Jeffrey. We have our communication team that is led by Ben. We also have our fundraising that will be working very hard to raise funds for this upcoming election. It's no easy feat, led by Dr. Wong Sok Yi. And we also always have our very hardworking assistant Sec Jen that's always going around taking pictures, all our very nice pictures. Most of it, the credit also goes to him. And everybody, every one of the volunteers here that I couldn't personally thank you, they are involved in every of our events. And without them, we are not able to put up an event like this, an impressive event like this. So I welcome anybody who is willing to put their name down, join us to volunteer for this upcoming election, which we expect to be very soon. Okay, join us, and there are forms to fill right at the corner where you can purchase your merchandise, purchase your books for today. Please join us to volunteer. We need as many volunteers as we can. So without much further ado, I know especially the media team, you're waiting for this moment for us to welcome Dr. Chee Soon Juan, none other than our secretary. He will be Dr. Chee will be taking questions. So please raise up your hand and I'll come to you with the mic. Do you want to say something?
No, only just to thank everyone again, just to repeat the thank yous to everybody that's made this occasion very successful, as well as to all of you who are here today. And I've said before that if the speakers have done their jobs, and I believe, and from what I've heard, they've done an excellent job, there'll be very short Q&A, right? But it's really good to see all of you here, and if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to entertain them, as well as to refer them to Paul, Naresh, or Ben. Casey?
Thank you. Dr. Chee, this question is not for you. I do not know Ben Hui personally, but I know of him. And the last time I saw that he was in another party, and I'm curious if Ben would be willing to share with us what made you decide to join the SDP, and what are your thoughts about that?
My simple answer is today is about the Manifesto Launch. So we'll take questions about the Manifesto Launch first, and then we can save that for later. Thank you.
Any questions from the media side? The media? Okay, what about the...
Yun Zhou from Zapao.
Hi, Dr. Chee, Yun Zhou from Zapao here. I was impressed for seeing the Manifesto Launch today. Just like to find out, after so much effort being put into this preparation for the upcoming GE, what would be a good result for the SDP at the next elections?
I've said this very often before. For us, we're in a very different situation. We're fighting in elections not in a democratic system, but in a very authoritarian, anti-democratic one. So for us to look ahead and talk about results, I think we're missing the point. We continue to work to bring the message to Singapore that democracy is indeed important here for Singapore. And that despite the climate of fear, we continue to push ahead. We continue to put forth our vision, the policies that come with it, in the hopes that we can paint for Singapore an alternative, that they can see what a democratic future is like. Something that captures, includes hope, not just for yourselves, but for your children. And that's hugely important. And I hope Singaporeans are able to see that in not just this elections, but I think what Ben has alluded to, we cast our eyes beyond and in the years and decades ahead, because democracy never comes easy. So we don't think in terms of, you know what people say, right? A politician thinks of the next election. A statesman thinks of the next generation. And that is what we're all about. Right? We want to be able to make sure that our children are able to grow up, to be able to enjoy the fruits of a free and open society where the government is transparent and accountable. That's what this manifesto is all about. It lays out that long-term vision that we have, and I hope that you continue to take it and spread the word. Yes.
Hi, Dr. Chiam, Deborah from CNA.
Hi.
I would just like to follow up on what Naresh said just now during his speech. He mentioned that the Young Democrats were pretty involved in coming up with some of the policies. So just wondering whether the Young Democrats had vastly different ideas from the senior members, and how did you arrive at putting all the ideas into a policy?
You know, when we come together as a party, this distinction between senior Democrats, women Democrats, young Democrats, very artificial. It's very an artificial one. Very often, when we interact, when we put ourselves together as a party, I like to use the word organism. You know how it is, right? We're all organisms, right? The left hand doesn't do something that the right hand doesn't want to do. And that's why when we come together, it's always been this, the lines are very blurred, and there's a meeting of minds in that we know what we really think is important for Singapore. And that is something that I think the Young Democrats, although they have, within their own circles, they have very different emphasis in terms of their outlook, in terms of the conversation, the discussions. But by and large, I think a lot of times, we're all together in this one big push to look for a more caring government, a more consultative one, one that is just more transparent and accountable to the people, and it's all in our manifesto. But in terms of, say, climate change to the younger generation, sometimes I think we tend to miss out on this. My kids, one of the teens right now, feel it's something that is very urgent, and because it's going to be a society that they're going to inherit, and I think it will do well for us in the older generations to pay heed and really listen to them and find the urgency in these matters as well.
Dr. Anson.
Hello, Dr. Chi. I have two questions. You've been engaged in elections against the Go Short Term government, the Lee Hsien Loong government, and this time you might be up against the 4G leaders of the PAP. Can you tell me what you expect to be different about this election with the different leaders in charge on the other side compared to what you've been through? That's question one. Question two is, what do you think are the main obstacles towards this aspiration to forming an opposition coalition, and how they can be overcome?
Again, I come back, the anchor to this event and the answer to your question, it really is about our manifesto. I don't need to make it very cheesy, but it really, if you think about it, it is this 4G generation of leaders that have become very dislocated from society. I've heard going out about in our walkabouts and our house visits over and over again. They know, they can instinctively tell you that life is getting tremendously difficult for them. And yet, you see this government having absolutely no clue as to how they go about their daily lives. Whereas if you think of the older generation of ministers, they've come through the difficulties nation building. Many of these present generation of ministers have had it good all their lives. And they think that every Singaporean lives like them. And that's where the problem is. And that's where we come in. And we want to crystallize all our thoughts and our ideas in as far as pushing for the future is concerned in this manifesto. So it's again something which we want to be able to do and tell Singaporeans to take forth. And this is our challenge to this present set of ministers. Going ahead, looking ahead, Singapore cannot continue the way that we've been doing in the last 50 years. If we think that our past holds the key to our future, then we're in a lot more trouble than I think we are. Because we're living on past successes, and we're not bold enough to look at a changing and changed world. And I've said this very often, and it's in our economic chapter in the manifesto. Previously, people say democracy, that's a Western liberal idea. We're beginning to find out that without democracy, without openness, without the ability to dissent, question, challenge authority, you cannot become a creative and innovative society, right? Because those traits, those qualities, are very much dependent on our ability to be able to function in a free and open society. That is why you don't find your J.K. Rowlings, you don't find your Steve Jobs, you don't find your Bill Gates coming from North Korea. Right? I give you a very simple truism. Our challenge right now is to make sure that in the coming 10, 20 years, that we start putting together a society, people who are able to then take the lead, rather than a few select individuals within the ruling party. This present model cannot go on, not if we want Singapore to survive and thrive in the years ahead. And this is why I continue we continue to advocate, and we're going to continue to put these policies out, this manifesto out, this vision out, so that we can begin to achieve a future that we can all live in prosperity and continue this progress. As to your second part of your question, Bertha, remind me, what was it again?
What's the obstacles in the way of putting together an opposition coalition quickly, or are they being overcome now?
Yeah, I guess things like that. It's still in motion. Things are still in discussion, and we will make that the information public as we go along. But we're still continuing to be working on all the different kinks, I suppose, and making sure that we come up with a more united, more cooperative front. To what extent, I won't be able to tell you right now, except to tell you that it's a work in progress.
And just to inform everyone, if you wish to ask a question, you can also ask it in your mother tongue if it's more comfortable for you.
I think it might be appropriate for this at this juncture to ask Ben to, why don't you just take up Casey's questions?
Point of people. What do you ask? Answer the question. Point of people. What? Yeah, I go for it. Yeah. Okay, coming out as moderator first. If you want to ask a question in your own language, whatever you feel comfortable with, please just ask, okay? And I repeat, this is not a media briefing, so don't just leave it to the media to ask questions, okay? You can be a comment, you don't have to be like, oh, I support SDP, you can say that also. You don't have to ask a question. So before I take 2 more questions from the media, before I ask that, any non-media questions, comments, anyone? Yes, please, there's a mic there.
I'm not asking a question, I'm making a comment. I just want to take on what Dr. Chi said in his opening remarks, and he said about the mindset of Singaporeans. I served 30 years in the army, and I actually posted on my Facebook this morning that it is incredulous that the PAP government can consider all, at least some of the ministers and MPs in the government can consider me disloyal when I object to some of their policies and I disagree with how they govern Singapore. So, and I can see this in the chat group that I'm in because current and existing officers in the SAF are very uncomfortable when I talk about, when I disagree with government policies. And I've been approached by some who say, how can you, as a retired SAF officer, say what you have said? And my answer is very simple. I'm a grandfather. I love my grandchildren. If you love your grandchildren, think about it. What sort of legacy you want to leave behind? Now, I'm saying this because I know it is going to go public, and I want to urge all, and I mean all those government servants, civil servants, SAF personnel, people who work in government service, or who are worried that their children are working in government service, as what Dr. Tan Cheng Bock said, this fear must go. We cannot allow this fear to overwhelm us. It is ridiculous, you know. Hello. How did we survive the past 50, 60 years after we became independent? It is not just because of a group of intelligent people that led us. Yes, they led us very well in the beginning. But it is because there are a lot of wise people in Singapore, and it's a whole hundreds of thousands that have worked very hard to make Singapore what it is today. It is not just those few in the cabinet that you see. So, get away this fear. You are not disloyal when you disagree with government policies. You are loyal to your country, Singapore, and you are faithful to your fellow Singaporeans. Thank you.
Very good representation of the fact that, right, there's no such thing as saying, oh, I'm too old to be involved in politics, that the young ones step forward, right? Our older generation, you've got a lot more wealth of experience and comments that we need, right? So, other comments from others? Anybody? Questions? You don't have to direct your questions at Dr. Chi alone. You can direct questions that any of our leaders or any of our party members can answer.
Hi, my name is Alfred Hong. I was a polling agent in the 2015 election for Dr. Chi. I met him personally, so he's very personable and he really cares for the agents, whether they're polling agents or counting agents. So have a good impression of Dr. Chi. This is the first time I'm looking at the manifesto, and I'm looking at the economy section, and there's something called the genuine progress indicator as compared to the normal GDP that's used to measure how well the economy is doing. I'm just curious because for this GPI, I'm not really familiar with how many countries actually do adopt the GPI. That's my question.
Okay, thank you. Anyone from our team who was involved in our economic paper? Kachin?
You know, this National Happy Index, if I'm not mistaken, New Zealand has looked into it in a very serious manner. Is this on?
No, not.
Okay. New Zealand has seriously looked into it. And it's because of the GDP being a very unable indicator of the well-being of society, because all it looks at is just growth in terms of dollars and cents. If you think about it, a mother staying at home to look after the children does not go into the work that she does, does not go into measuring the GDP. Whereas the father going out to the bar at night and having a few drinks with the friends contributes to the GDP. And that's where we find that entire concept very dissatisfactory. Even Simon Kuznets, this economist that that devised the GDP, and actually made this comment that the GDP is basically an average of everything that the country produces in goods and services. It tells you nothing of the way that those goods and services are being produced and how it benefits society. And it's just an average number, and really tells us nothing. People keep saying the same thing over and over, right? You have Bill Gates walking into a room full of beggars and everyone is instantly a millionaire, meaning the average. So the GDP is a very unsatisfactory indicator, index of society's well-being. And that's why in our economic proposal, we're saying in addition to the GDP, let's look at the Genuine Progressive Index, where it takes into environmental issues as well. Right? The footprint that we leave behind in terms of carbon emission, and so how that impacts on society as a whole. And that is where I think it speaks to the scale of our research and the amount of work that we put into it. And it is not just slogans. Those are things that if you bother to read it in detail, we've done a lot of work in terms of wanting to put something out that Singaporeans can really bite on and then have confidence in supporting.
Okay, thank you for the comment. I'm just going to quickly say, if you notice how we are seated and the fact that our chairman, Dr. Paul, is right in front, this is exactly like Parliament, right? Just our speaker up front. And I say that because some of the comments that Dr. Chi just mentioned around different indices.
You understand?
Yeah, well, it depends on who's right. Some of the comments that Dr. Chi mentioned around different sort of economic indicators. Imagine if this dialogue happened in Parliament, where it should be happening, and not just within a small room like this. Okay, so we really believe that such conversations need to be taken in the Parliament at a national level to offer alternatives, right? We've got 5 more minutes before we close this section. Other comments or questions? I'm going to leave the media to the very last because we can have a separate session for you, right? Anybody else? Questions? Oh, yeah, bahasa apa boleh? Okay, other questions? Yes? Somebody wants to say something in the back? Okay, good. Yes, please.
Hello, I'm Maggie here. I just want to tell the experiences I gotten from driving Uber and now Grab. In fact, I have exchanged a lot of information with a lot of riders, and most of them, I managed to convince them to VOT for this coming election. But one of the items I learned from these experiences is that I was surprised that some months back I drove a Sabahan family, and we chit-chat on general matters, and surprisingly I learned from him that when LKY cried when we were separated from Malaysia, I was shocked by this historical event. And he said, "You know why LKY cried?" I said, "I think according to official message, he cried because we were separated and whether we can survive thereafter." But he says, no, he cried because Sabah didn't want to join Singapore to separate from Malaysia. Wow. I think history can be, distorted in this way. This is from the Sabahan mouth. I was surprised by this news, that he cried not because of what was officially said, but because Sabah didn't want to join Singapore in the separation. I think maybe you can check with some Sabahans whether this is true or not.
Thank you very much for sharing with us your experience. For that, we will close this Q&A session unless there's anybody who want to say anything. No? So we will close the Q&A session, but please, if you feel more comfortable approaching any of our leaders, instead of asking publicly, please feel free to do so. You know, we still, after this event, we still have some refreshment whereby you can get up close and personal with some of our leaders who are here today. Leaders like Brian, Kong Wai Yin, Jeffrey, So-Yi, of course, Dr. Chi, John. Yeah, anybody, you can just reach out to them and you can have their autograph also, because they are also in the manifesto. They are featured in the manifesto.
Yes, so before everybody go for refreshment and check out our merchandises and the manifesto, because all of you are here today, all of you took the time to come down today, we actually have a surprise for you. Very soon we're going to actually have our first pre-election rally for the SDP, and it's going to be, well, okay, I will not tell you the details. You can actually receive the flyer from us, and yeah, this is just for you because you chose to come down today.
Okay, just a recap. Our first pre-election rally, it was in 2010, if I'm not wrong. I think I'm right? 2010. That was our first pre-election rally at Hong Lim Park. So this year, if any one of you attend our pre-election rally before 2010? No? Oh, someone did. Ah, yes, Helen, yeah. Don't miss, that was my first public speaking in 2010. Yeah, but this time, it is going to be bigger and grander. So please, join us. Sorry, so please join us. We will give out the flyers to you. It is on 19th October, Hong Lim Park, our next event, pre-election rally. Okay, we hope to see all of you there. And also, please buy the books from us, the manifesto book from us. Again, I have to emphasize, we have many of our party leaders here where you can get your autograph. You know, so that will make your copies more valuable, I hope. Yeah, so can I pass the mic to Ben?
Thank you. I've been asked to answer the first question by Ben here, so I was trying to avoid that, so I will. So why did I join the SDP? Maybe I can, why I joined the SDP before I joined, the answer is in the press already, so go Google online to see it. Maybe I can answer why I joined the SDP now looking back. I think I've heard from the outside that the SDP is a very well-oiled machinery. And I tell you, coming in, I realized it is totally well-oiled machinery. It's like a Ferrari engine inside. And the interesting thing is that the Ferrari engine isn't managed by a single driver with a key. The Ferrari engine is managed by many volunteers like Jufri, you know, like all our ladies at the back who independently take on the initiative to be part of a larger system. And I'm just amazed at how this party is being run in such a smooth way. That's really impressed me. I think the other reason why I've come to join SDP is, if you know the other two parties I've been, I think SDP is very different in terms of articulating national visions and national policies. And it's not just a local vision of a constituency, whether it's Bishop Topayo or Potong Pasir, but it's about the whole of Singapore and national policies that cut across economy and education and housing, and that really impresses me. Some of you know that I was in government before. I used to do public policy. I was in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Home Affairs, MINDEF, and that kind of policy making makes or breaks the government. To be able to bring that kind of policy thinking into Parliament and take it down into implementation is really the kind of politicians that Singapore really needs to be. And to have a party that's able to articulate that at that national level, but also understand what it means down at the constituency level, I think is very rare. And then to have the machinery to execute on it really makes it something that I think I'm very proud to be part of, and will be in SDP for a very long time. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you, Ben. And I hope with Ben sharing, we have more people joining the SDP. Okay? You can actually go and sign up first as a volunteer, then as a party member. The booth is right there. Please go over to there to get your merchandise, to sign as volunteers. Our ladies are all there waiting for you. Okay?
Hi everyone, thank you for coming, spending a Saturday with us. I'm Jupri Saleh, the left side of the party. So I'm just here to remind you about the pre-election rally which my colleagues Stanley and Jasmine did mention just now. It's on the 19th of October. It will start from 4, will end at 8. Of course, there will be spectacular events lined up. Like for example, let me give you some sneak preview. Definitely, it's not exactly your common political rally. We are going to do it like a family carnival where we can have fun. We will have bouncy castles, so you can bring your kids, your grandchild, your kids to join us. And then we're gonna have entertainment from young musicians and even up to the senior musicians. And then of course we're gonna have some furry friends, or shall I say feathered friends. Yeah?
Fly pass. So, we are going to have fly pass.
Yeah, the feathered friends are gonna be flying pass. You know, like we don't have the budget, you know, to do like the NDP rally where the aircraft fly across the padang, you know. So we got these little feathered friends to do that for us. Yeah, we will. Okay, and then yeah, definitely, of course, and then we have awesome speakers will be speaking that night, and we'll be closing up with something spectacular. That's the big surprise.
Well, the fact that all of you are here today shows that you are ardent supporters of the SDPs, and I would like for you on that day to bring your friends, to bring your family, picnic out there. We are going to fill up the Hong Lim Park. Just like here today, there's not enough space. Actually, we're going to bring more chairs in. Some people have to stand outside. But let's make the Hong Lim Park run out of space on that day. Alright, shall we?
So we'll see you all on the 19th. Yeah.
And also, we need all of you there for a very special participation. You know, we need for you to do something while you're there. But what that is, well, we'll let you to come and find out for yourself. It's still a surprise.
It's still a surprise.
Yeah, we're just
but we're gonna get everyone to be very interactive with us, to get activated on that field on Hong Lim Park. Alright everyone, thank you everyone.
Alright, thank you so much.